Communicate, coordinate, and conquer. This slogan is the core of a squad's ethos. But as the years have passed and many players have come and gone, the community yearns for change, for something new, a fresh way to conquer the battlefield. Hi there squaddies, my name's Saber and I've been playing squad for a little over 7 years now, with over 1700 hours of gameplay under my belt. And today I want to discuss the long desired Vehicle Combat Overhaul and why I think it's coming sooner than we think. 10 months ago, the Infantry Combat Overhaul was sent to the masses to quell the demands of change, albeit divisive. Demands grew louder for something different. Just this week, we saw a change to Squad that completely reworked the anti-tank guided missile systems. But among this rework, I think we finally saw the Vehicle Combat Overhaul. For years now, Squad gamers alike have questioned and desired a complete rework of one of Squad's key gameplay systems. Many times, as I'm sure we can all attest to, many moments of frustration with the current vehicle systems in Squad. Getting stuck on rocks, smashing their 18-ton tank, driving 50 kilometers an hour into a tree the size of like my YouTube channel. It's small, by the way, like really small, and coming to a complete stop. Honestly, there's an endless amounts of problem with Squad's vehicles and the current systems, but obviously we don't have time for that, so I'm gonna just cut to the meat and potatoes. There's no lie that vehicles in Squad are old, like really old, and I don't mean like the visuals or the models, although some of them could do with a bit of touching up. The way that these vehicles behave and feel in game. Now, for context, in this video, the vehicles that I'll be referring to will be armor, although I would love to see a complete blanket change of all vehicles in Squad. These I've listed here, definitely the elephant in the room. Tell me, when was the last time you played around a Squad and either you or somebody else complained about the armor, lone wolfing all the way to a part of the map that's like 4 kilometers away from either the objective, the infantry, and the enemy, trying to cross map helicopters with saber rounds? Well, for me personally, I've noticed it happen more often than not, and I'm not going to sit here and complain about those players and go into the whole psychology as to why the people play the way they play, but seriously, it can be frustrating. Who doesn't want that seemingly rare cinematic moment of infantry pushing an objective under fire while your team tank roll past you, suppressing enemy positions backed up by IFVs and APCs? As a Squad player, it's something I think we've all wanted, but realistically it just doesn't happen, and with armor being able to be disabled with just one latch shot, more skillful armored players don't want to take that 15 ticket loss. As much as we may or may not want this, armor does need to change. There's been a hot debate about what these changes could include, from a more realistic armor system similar to War Thunder where the crew can be disabled internally, to changes to the driving system with the likes of Squad 44 or Hell Let Loose, or even a more immersive experience with detailed interiors, manual loading, and realistic interior audio changes that with the likes of Il Sturmovik. Let's face it, for an armor player, the idea of all those things I just listed makes you drool at the thought. Well, recently with the ATGM rework, we saw the introduction of the T90A and the BMP3. Of course, there are a bunch more things added to this update, and when you haven't seen it already, the patch note links are in the description. But I want to emphasize these vehicles specifically, that these vehicles mean something big is happening. Well, Saber, why do you think that? Okay, listen, just hear me out. Realistically, these two vehicles feature a system called APS, or Active Protection System, which you may remember from like the likes of Battlefield games, you know, like when they were good. BF4. These things actually exist, and the engineering behind them is insane, but to cut a long story short, APS protects these vehicles from rocket-propelled grenades, ATGMs, and even top-down attack warheads like from the Javelin. But Saber, what's that good to do anything? We've had the Abrams and Bradley in the game for years, and they don't have APS in the game, so what? Well, you're right, dude. If we look at the wording and the nature of the Iron Thunder patch notes, I think they've sneakily added in a teaser of what I think is a clear hint at an upcoming Vehicle Combat Overhaul. To quote, the T90A tank, a third generation main battle tank to replace the T72 series, it will use armaments similar to the T72B3 already in game, but will have upgraded frontal and side hull armor and frontal turret armor. We have plans to differentiate this vehicle further from the T72B3 in the future. Seriously, what else could they be referring to? Realistically, the T72 and T90 are quite similar, like really similar, as we all know. But one thing I do know that is different about these tanks is that the T90A features an active protective system called Arena M. And if you remember years ago, before the introduction of the Marine Corps, OWI released teaser imagery featuring a shot of a US Marine operating an FGM Javelin. Of course, having a weapon like this in game obviously needs a countermeasure for gameplay purposes, and I think that this APS introduction is the best countermeasure of all. But Saber, the T72B3 has Arena E APS system, so why do you think they need to add a T90? I'm not an expert about tanks and their active protection systems, but after some highly extensive research, it is proven that Arena E system that is installed on the T-72 cannot actively protect a tank from a Javelin top-down attack, whilst Arena M can on the T-90. So maybe it's my tinfoil hat screaming at me, but behind the scenes, it seems like OWI is working on a vehicle combat overhaul with what I see as an inclusion of a more in-depth armor system and finally a freaking Javelin, dude. Now, of course, this is all speculation and who knows how extensive it could be. In my mind, this is all adding up to be one thing that is, at a minimum, an armor rework. Hopefully, with a system like this, it can incentivize an armor crew to join alongside infantry and not worry about being disabled by that one lat in the first shot. This, in my mind, can create a rare cinematic opportunity, offer more tactical team play and enhanced combined arms gameplay, like the way Squad was intended. But even with changes like this, I'm sure it will divide the community once again. Prep like this will only make unconventional forces underpowered. Will something like this make armor even more overpowered? This is definitely going to make teamwork worse than ever. Personally, I can see how something like this may or may not meet the expectations of the broader community, especially with how the infantry combat overhaul was and is treated today. Squad has always suffered balancing issues. Even to this day, the developers make changes to faction loadouts and vehicle quantities on a regular basis, and of course, there will be moments where things seem initially exceedingly overpowered. I remember the days when the BTR-82 used to roam and dominate the battlefield in Logar, and all we had were law rockets in a dream. Now, most people just say it's a tin can on wheels. No matter what, armor is not going anywhere, and referring to a complete overhaul to vehicles, this also means that there will be a huge shift in the way that both infantry and armor play their roles and how they're balanced. Of course, I can't tell you exactly how it'll change, but speaking on updates past, overhauls like this change how people play for better and worse. I'd like to think that we as players and as humans are insanely adaptable to change, and this won't be any different. If you've gotten this far in the video, let me know what your hopes and dreams are for a vehicle combat overhaul in Squad. Are you excited? Are you scared? Are you worried? Let us know in the comments down below. But if I can leave you with one thing that may change your mind, without change, there is no innovation, creativity, or incentive for improvement. That was William Pollard that said that. No? Only me? Oh, okay, well you can get